and welcome to another edition of Your Coach is Back in the Kitchen. So anyways, we're right back into our new campaign of being all in. The segment, a piece of the all in that I have kind of like gone into with and trying to really promote is getting you guys all involved from a health standpoint, right? So we have a 100-mile challenge that's going forward, along with certain pros that the pastor has preached about and has put onto the website as well for you guys to be able to follow every week and utilize these things to help enrich your life from a mental, spiritual, and physical standpoint. Me, being in the kitchen, I'm here to help you with your nourishment, right? So we've talked at length about some of the plant-based meals. Here's some ideas that you guys can kind of incorporate into your meal planning, not only for you but also for the kids. These are things that are pretty simple. We've had enchiladas, we've had taco bowls, we've had just a smattering of sliders. We've had various different things that you could possibly do. Now we're going to get back to the essence of what we all knew, what we all grew up with, was meatloaf, right? And yes, we are using Impossible Meat again. Our meatloaf is going to be all plant-based. Everything we use is going to be completely plant-based, from the eggs to the milk, right? The milk is oats milk, O-A-T-S milk. And I bet you didn't know, but now you do. So there's oats milk and so forth. So all these things, all the ingredients that we'll be using to make up our little meatloaf that you, like I said, you grew up on. Some of you love. Jasmine don't. She's gonna eat mine today though, on camera, she says. So I gotta make sure that this is done properly. So anyways, we're gonna start off by just going and adding our plant-based, I should say, meat. And that goes into, and let me just say this too. So there's many ways of making a meatloaf, obviously. Some people make theirs using a pound of ground beef. Some people make theirs using more than a pound. I like 2 pounds. I'm a hearty eater, a hearty cooker. Therefore, I'm a hearty eater. So I'm using 2 pounds. So I'm making these ingredients that I'll be giving you to incorporate in the meatloaf, and this plant-based meatloaf that I'm making will be for that of 2 pounds. So got those all in there, like so, and we're good there. And wash my hands off real quick, just because I want to start dealing with some other things on the table there. All right, so now, see, towel comes in handy. You wonder why Coach walks around with a towel. Not just his stick, it's also, multi-purpose. Okay, so anyways, so now I have my plant-based meats in the bowl. I'm gonna add 2 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. Where's my breadcrumbs? There we go. And it's important not to add too many breadcrumbs because it could dry out your meatloaf. Man, meatloaf, huh? Who knew that you could make plant-based meatloaf, Miss Jazz, right? Just crazy that you could do something like that. What are you doing, Coach? Well, I'm trying to live a little healthier. All right, so now there's our 2 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. And I'll put that back. And we'll let you guys take a look at the breadcrumbs for a little bit there. So we have that going right now, and I have sweet onions. Now I like using white onions. My mom, bless her soul, she's passed on now, and she's given me so much inspiration as far as just getting into this cooking thing or whatever else. She was a huge proponent of the sweet yellow onion. So I'm going this is ode to her, that I'm going to use the yellow onions, but you can use regular yellow, the sweet yellow onions. You can use regular yellow onions. You can use whatever you want. But I'm going to go with the sweet yellow onions. Like I said, thinking about your mom. All right, so now we're going to saute these though. Some people like to do theirs do their meatloaf by just doing the raw onion. I'm gonna take mine over to the stove and saute these onions for about 5 minutes. So now I'm using my avocado oil. Again, you can use olive oil, totally up to you. I'm a bigger fan of the avocado oil, and again, I thank our pastor for reminding me that avocados and their derivatives are so much better for you than some of the other things, vegetable oils and canolas and so forth. So yeah, so I have that going now. We're gonna get that nice and hot. Looks like that is going. And we're gonna empty in. And that sizzle tells me that my pan is definitely hot enough. And at that point, I start my timer at 5 minutes. Now, if you're anything like me, I love salt. Hush, Miss Jazz. Okay. I like a little salt with mine. And remember that McCormick pepper that your mom used to get all the time, used to be cheap? Not so much now. But I love McCormick. Like I said, this is an ode to Betty Frazier. Wonderful, wonderful lady. All right, so now we're sauteing this 5 minutes. And I want to make sure that I coat all my onions. I'm not telling you how to saute. Coach is not a chef. He's a hungry guy. He's a hungry guy that's single. So he needs to eat, and his pockets aren't conducive to eating out all the time. Plus, I'm a snob with food. I don't like everybody's food. All right, so now, while that's kind of going on, we can kind of talk through some of the other extra ingredients that you may or may not add into yours. I've heard the spectrum of things that people have added in their meatloaf. I'm fairly simple. I throw a few more things in that you don't, suspect or whatever else, but totally up to you as to how you want to do it from this point forward. The onions are pretty standard. We're talking about, again, we're dealing with a plant-based deal here. So what I'll do is we'll just start with some of the things that you ought to obviously know, right? So we'll go with a half a cup, because I'm using 2 pounds, or a little bit over 2 pounds of plant-based meat. I'm going with a half a cup of, I'm making a mess here, of ketchup in mine. Now, let's talk about the ketchup. Look, I was just talking to our media team about this. This ketchup, you're going to pull on into that right there. This ketchup right here, you only could get in a little bitty spool of something that Whataburger would give you. And so you'd ask them, could I get extra spicy ketchup? And they throw you an extra one, and then tell you that you got to pay $5 for another one or something like that. Well, I walked up in HEB the other day and found it in a large size. So I like my stuff spicy, meats and so forth. I use the spicy ketchup in mine. You can use regular ketchup in yours, or whatever kind of ketchup that you think or that you feel. I'm going with the spicy. All right, and I'm just going to empty that all up in there. All up in there. All right. All right, I think I got enough of it out of there. All right, that's probably all that I'm gonna get out of there. Did good. And I'm gonna go back and take a look at these onions here. I think I probably got about a few more minutes left for these to kind of saute. All I really wanna do is just soften them. I don't like the crunch as much as I like the taste and flavor. I think I probably fall in a high percentage of those who feel the same way. We just wanna soften these onions up. And so I'll probably have a couple more minutes here to do that with, and we'll just let that go. Okay, just having fun. That's what it's about. All right, so now it's kind of this whole game here, right? We're going to go with eggs. So I know that a lot of people, including my sister, who is, for lack of a better way of putting it, allergic to eggs or something. But either way, can't eat eggs, but she can eat just eggs. Just eggs is basically a vegan eggs, or vegan eggs, plural. But yeah, so the count to this though is for every egg it's 3 tablespoons. And as soon as I can find my measure, there we go. So because I'm using, and I use, it's typically, I think it's 1 egg to a pound. I'm gonna use, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and then 5, 6, and I'm gonna throw 1 more in there for good measure because I have a little bit more than 2 pounds of plant-based meat in here. So I wanna make sure that our mixture is really, really good there. All right, so now, dang it, I'm supposed to put it. All right, so now we've gotten our egg. Let's go with our milk here. So now, again, I think I told you before is that I'm using, and I had it already stored, pulled out, but they have several different brands of oat milk. You can use almond milk. You can use any of those type of milks. I'm using oats because it's not as sweet as like an almond milk or cashew milk or any of the other non-dairy milks. And I'm pouring that in there. All right, cool. Got that done, out of the way. Let's take a look at our onions. Are looking really good now. I'm kind of putting them on the hot tray here. So now, with all of this, I want to continue to put our ingredients in. We have the Worcestershire sauce. So I'm gonna go with, I already have it poured. We go with 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. You don't need much of this stuff. Too much of this stuff will make you sick. But it's really good and a great tenderizer of meat. And we're gonna use it just because we would normally use it in when we're making a meatloaf. Let me put these in there too. Get that out of the way there. There we go. Sorry. All right, and so now I'm gonna go with my seasoning. So, well, I'm waiting on my, I'm almost done with my onions. I think I've probably got about maybe 1 more minute maybe. But I'll go with my seasonings just so we can get these out of the way. So, you always season to taste. I can give you what my mom gave me, and she says, and I quote, 2 teaspoons of parsley. Love you, Mom, but we're gonna go with what we think look like about 2 teaspoons of parsley. That is right there. Okay, that's good. I'm also gonna go with a little seasonal. All right, I like mine a little hot. We're gonna go with a little bit of red pepper flake. There we go. Maybe a lot of red pepper flake, right, Brother George? All right, and salt, a little bit of salt. All right, and a little pepper. And I have garlic powder. All right, so our onions are just about done here. We're gonna make sure and turn this off. Yay, okay. And we're gonna just mix them right on in. Now, typically, I like to do these onions. You may wanna do these onions a lot. Ooh, yeah, I am. You may want to do these onions a lot sooner because you don't want to try to kind of deal with the heat. But wherever you put them in, as long as you put them in, We're in good shape. All right, so that's all in there. We'll put that in the sink to be washed later. And so now we're just mixing. I want to thoroughly make sure that this is thoroughly mixed in. And my mom used to work this and needle this with her hands. If you're anything like me, I don't like my hands in the gushy stuff. I don't know, I used to be just ridiculous or something, I don't know, but I use the spatulas. And you want to make sure though, because this meatloaf recipe is a very moist one. And you want to make sure to really, really blend it in good. I'm probably gonna have to put my hands in here a little bit, but to blend it in really, really good because we don't want it to fall. Yeah, I'm gonna get in there. Let me go wash my hands real quick. I'm going in. All right. Jasmine says, quit wasting her time. Get in there and get it mixed up. All right, I'm gonna stop wasting time. We're going in. Ooh. Oh. Okay. It's not that bad, Mick. All right. But again, what we want to see is a consistency throughout all of the meat, or plant-based meat, as it were. Needle it really good. You can't hurt it. All right, I think I've got that pretty well mixed up in there. And because I went with my hands, it happened a lot quicker. Thanks for the encouragement, media guys. Like get through it already, Mick. All right, let me wash this off my hands and then we'll get to the coup de grace. Or the end, as it were. All right, enough. Okay. There are those who choose to just spray the bottom of their pan. I am going to use some parchment paper. And I don't need that much, but it helps with the parchment paper because you can just pull that right on out of there when it's done. I'm gonna see if I can probably come up with a better way of putting this in. There we go. All right. So that's kind of in there a bit. I'm gonna take my spatula again, and we're just gonna scoop it in, or dollop it in there. So I'm gonna get all this in here. And again, you may run into some areas where it doesn't look like it's as mixed up. Take your spatula and mix it up while it's in there. All right. Man, I smell those onions. They smell really good. Jasmine, don't look so hard at this. Again, so, all right, I'm not telling you to trick your kids or nothing like that. Kids have a tendency, though, to kind of see raw meat or see the process of cooking and don't realize that what they've been eating all their life has been the exact same thing that they just saw in preparation. They just don't like it in its preparation stage. That makes any sense at all? Don't show them. They can't take it. No, show them. Make them understand that this is a process for which we cook and eat. All right, so now I just want to smooth that on out and get it down in there. And as you can see, my pan's a little bit smaller than how much meat that I have in here, or how much plant-based meat that I have, meatloaf. But I'm gonna smooth it out as best as possible, because the most important part, the coup de grace, as I said, is the glaze. This is my mom's recipe. It's not any different than anyone else's, I don't doubt. But I'm gonna try to go verbatim for how she did it. All right, put that out of the way here. We'll wash other hands. Washing my hands like a madman. Right. We're gonna make the glaze here real quick. And it's really simple. I'm gonna take that half a cup again that I did before. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna take, well, yes, I'm gonna do a half a cup. You could do a third of a cup, make it a little less glaze, or you could take more and do a little more. Because I'm using these loaf pans that are basically not even, I think they're below standard size. They're actually the foil loaf pans. I don't have a lot of space to work with on top there, so I'm probably gonna have a little bit of a cast off. So what you may wanna end up doing is taking a little cookie sheet and putting it on the bottom of it, just to make sure that you catch whatever little cast off you have. But it doesn't hurt to have as much glaze, because the glaze is, oh man, they came to see the glaze. They came to see the glaze. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. No, I'm not. You know I'm not gonna stop talking. Come on, man. All right, so now, thank you, Brother George. That was that hand. Got a third hand in there. All right, so I got the ketchup in there. Now, I'm gonna go with my brown sugar. Did I get it all? Let's go with the brown sugar. All right. So I have my brown sugar here, and I'm probably gonna do maybe a third of brown sugar. Let's see. My mom's recipe, she calls for 5 tablespoons. We'll count them out, that's fine. We'll go with the 5. I need to wash this out again. Give me 1 second here. Quick wash off. Good. Oh, now that I think about it, let's see. So 5 tablespoons would be a 4th. 5 tablespoons, okay, never mind. There we go. Got that there. And we have 2 tablespoons, what does she say here? She's got 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Red wine vinegar, not the stuff you drink, but the stuff that you cook with. We'll go 1 and 2, and just a little more. There we go. All right. I've gotten it to a really good, smooth consistency. Everything's kind of blended in. Doesn't take long. Doesn't take much. And because again, I am one of those that's about decent and in order, I'm gonna spread it first. Get it right into, now, my mom, this is kind of the mom segment, I guess. My mom used to poke holes in her meatloaf and make a lot more of the sauce so that the sauce would drain down into the holes. So typically you poking holes in meat and putting them in the oven, you asking for dry meat. But it never came out dry, probably because Mom knew that some of this sauce would seep down into, so you got sauce in almost every bite of your meat. Instead of having to like just, you know, as my brothers would do, just eat the top of the meatloaf and kind of just leave it. Not plural, let me stop lying on them. One of my brothers would do was eat the top of the meatloaf and just leave the rest. And of course, me, the garbage disposal, I took care of that for him because it's brotherly love. Brotherly love is what that was about. All right, so now I've got it nice and glazed evenly on top here. I'm just gonna pour, try to pour as even as possible. I'm gonna pour the rest on. And because I do have this parchment paper that's kind of helping to kind of cave off, I'm gonna raise it a little bit. Raise the parchment paper, and that probably will help me, not probably, we hope that will help to keep most of the glaze on our meat and not off to the sides of our meat. You know, another good cheat for this though is just get you some barbecue sauce. I don't know. My mom, she was a creative woman. She just wanted to be fun. And bless her heart. All right. So now I'm taking this and just kind of making sure I'm getting a good even spread here. All right, so now nothing left to do but put it in the oven here. I've set my oven for preheated my oven for 350. Not sure why I had the gloves on to open it, but just have it. And I'm placing it right there in the middle rack. And we let that go for 55 minutes. 55 minutes, you shouldn't need any more of that because again, we're dealing with plant-based meat and not actual ground. So you minus the fats that have to cook. You minus all the different things that process, as far as the processes for them making ground meat. You don't have to worry about any of that type of thing. All we have is our plant-based impossible meat. 55 minutes and we're done. All right. All right, so now let's check our oven to see what it looks like, and there it is. The reveal. Very sweet. And we're gonna cut that up a little bit. And again, with meatloaf, obviously you guys know how to eat meatloaf. There's the option of, and still keeping it plant-based, there's the option of sweet potatoes, potatoes. I decided to do a butternut squash, roasted butternut squash. We'll pour some of that in there first. Put a little herb de Provence, and we'll cut. And you're talking about less than 100 calories per 1/10, which means that basically per slice of meatloaf on under 100 calories of meat here. There we go. And we just let that flop right there. But you can see that is extremely tender. I can cut this, bring it out there. I can cut that with a plastic knife. Look at that. Huh? I bet we have a taster over here. Somebody want to taste? Yeah, I'll taste it. That's meatloaf, and really good. How about it, Miss Jasmine? You ready? I've been giving Miss Jasmine a lot of grief because she's not one of those that really eats meatloaf. But she said that she might give mine a try today, so hopefully she gives it a try. But thank you all for tuning in. Again, we'll continue these segments throughout the rest of the month, making sure that you guys are all in on the fitness end of it all, as well as the spirituality and mental piece of it all. So keep eating. I know I will. God bless.